We're going to play a wonderful game called Who is My Daddy and What Podcast Does He Do? Kindergarten Cop. It's coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevening. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and I believe that is myself.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I always saw this movie for the first time a month ago, so we'll count myself in too.
okay, yeah. I know, it's very funny. We all know Tommy loves to do his opening puns. He loves to make his puns. He's going to be a great dad one day because of his puns.
Yeah,
And I literally said after watching this movie for the first time, because Tommy suggested it, I think right after you watched it for the first time, being like, "Oh, this would be a
yeah.
fun one to cover on the podcast." After watching it, I was like, "Oh, you were watching this and were just thinking of what you could do at the beginning of the podcast, like
Taking
what
notes immediately.
taking notes immediately, like just writing podcast puns like a crazed maniac, just like ripping pages
Just all
across,
my
like yes, like pages everywhere, scattered notes across the court. So
now.
this is kind of like, I guess, our first one. Like you watched it a second time to reintroduce yourself to the movie before we covered it.
Yeah, just to get myself refamiliarized. So I try to commit to an Arnold accent right there, and then I realized midway through me doing the pun, I was like, I can't do it. I can say I'll be back, but that's about it. That's
And
easy.
and and like saying you can do it is being generous to the fact that you can do
Even
it.
that.
We're,
And
we're,
now
we're that's a generous use of the term. I can do it.
and now we're not a video podcast, but if we were, you'd see the walls around me are just different of the clumped up pieces of paper that have podcast puns on them. You see ones for like Total Recall, RoboCop, all the ones we ever done in the podcast
It's
before.
it's like the scene in Always Sunny with Charlie and the serial killer. Like you know which one I'm
Yeah.
talking about, and
The,
he's
the
got
string rope.
the string ropes. It's just like string ropes of connecting puns and podcasts together from across like 125 or whatever episodes we've done of the podcast. It's really quite remarkable. I gather you haven't had anybody over in the past since you moved into the apartment and started doing this because
It's not allowed. It's only just podcast puns. That's why I have an
it's
apartment
only,
for.
yeah, so you don't there's not even a bed. He just sleeps on the floor. It's really crazy. Uh but there is a lot of movie posters as well. And anyway, though, Kindergarten Cop, lovely little Ivan Reitman family film. Looking at it on IMDb, actually let's do this. I want to have this conversation.
Okay.
When you're looking at a movie online, what is your go-to place to try to get a gauge of, like, is this actually good or not? Because
I
every site has is terrible. I think.
I
I genuinely think every site's awful.
I think my first go to is still Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, that's where I came up on my movie fandom. So I look at Rotten Tomatoes first. I look at the critic score. I'll see if Roger Ebert reviewed it, and
But
sometimes
he's
if it's
okay.
wrong.
He's been dead for 15 years, Tommy.
But
Like
yeah, he's been dead.
The Roger
And
Ebert
and
writer doesn't mean shit to me.
and nowadays it's also a letterbox. I look at the letterbox average review.
I
I
think
don't.
I think Letterboxd is probably easily the best now in terms of just user score. I think you just get a lot more cinephiles, but I've also noticed there's this weird trend of just like anything that comes out that isn't like studio junk, you have to like it. Like Trap, there's so many people who are just like, Trap is a masterpiece. I'm like, Trap's fine. It's a fun little
It's
movie.
fun. Yeah,
It's a
it's
fun
fun.
little movie. It's not a masterpiece. It's not even close to Shyamalan's best. But I say this because I've noticed this with Rotten Tomatoes, because Rotten Tomatoes is
Oh,
weird
the
because
worst for audience score is the worst. I only pay attention to critic score because they have fucking so many chuds at like, oh, Snyderverse, we got to review bomb this, so it gives positive
yeah,
reviews
it gets it
99%.
get well, for anything big, Star Wars, it gets review bombed one way or the other. I think it's also the most manipulated by
Yeah,
paid reviews by critics. I think it's easily
nah.
I think it's easily the most Hey, we don't do that on this podcast. We have never once been paid to review a movie that doesn't make a studio a
We keep
dime
our integrity
anymore.
because we don't have an audience.
Whoa, we have an
I'm joking. I'm
audience.
joking. I'm joking.
No, we keep our integrity intact because we review movies that came out 30, 40 years ago. Like the studio
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
care what we have to say about it. It's just interesting to look at these movies in a contemporary light. There was one moment in this movie which, funny joke, would not appear in a movie today. We'll talk about that in a little bit because that one I literally texted you during. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
That's this was filmed in the early 90s for sure.
This is filmed in the early 90s for sure. Um, and Tommy, as we do always, what did you watch? What movies? Give me a
All right.
movie. Give me a name of a movie.
All right.
Movies.
So I don't think I discussed this last week on our episode, but 2 weeks ago, when I was in New York City after seeing Pearl Jam, the next day I saw a screening of Point Break at the Alamo Drafthouse, and
Nice.
just a fuck yeah movie. I mean, it's just like an amazing movie where Keanu is just like not a good actor in it whatsoever, but it
Is he
somehow
is he
works.
is he ever? I
Yeah.
love Keanu, but is he ever like he's great in John
Well,
Wick
he's
because
he's he's learned his niche where he's like, I should not talk that much.
I'm better if I have subdued comments.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm just like a little drone, whereas Point Break, you can tell some scenes are just like, oh, this is really stretching it, but it's still an entertaining movie. Tim, you've seen it, right?
I have not.
All right. Well, that's a future episode for us right there. This
Oh,
is how the
easily.
podcast sometimes happens. So anyways, it's just a really fun movie. Patrick Swayze is just a fun villain and just like pure 90s cheese. Yeah, it's directed by Catherine Bigelow, which just makes it
Is that her
even
first
better.
movie?
I think it's her like third movie because she did Near Dark before that. Really fun vampire movie with Bill Paxton. And then I think it's this. Yeah. But
So it's
anyways,
her
I highly
first or
recommend
second
it.
movie?
Yeah, within like her first like 2 or 3 movies. So overall, I definitely recommend it. Gary Busey's awesome. And it's just really fun seeing like a 90s action movie in theaters. I've been on that like trend recently of the Beverly Hills Cops, the Brandon Schwarzenegger movies like this. Even saw some movie last night called Black Rain with Michael Douglas. So I've been in the 90s cop movie aura for a while right now. So and here we go with Kindergarten Cop.
And yeah, and is this really like an action movie though? It kind of like
Well, this is the thing. This movie, Kindergarten Cop, the first 30 minutes play out like a normal cop movie, and then it just shifts into like Arnold being like, "Wait, can't we get back in the movie I thought we were in?"
yeah, it's kind of a cop movie, but not really a cop movie. He's kind of like the world's worst cop at the beginning, if we're gonna be honest. But anyway, uh I have something shameful, I have to say, in terms of the movies I watched. I'm ashamed to admit this, but in my own weakness, I watched X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past. First time I've watched them since they came out.
Oh, those two ones are good though.
No, they're good. I'm just I caved in a moment of scrolling around for 40 minutes and I was like, these ones are pretty good, right?
These hold up, right? Kevin
These whole
Bacon's in one.
yeah, Kevin Bacon in that one, awesome as a villain. January Jones, terrible, awful in that, which
No,
stinks because I love her as Betty Draper, but I feel like she has not
she,
done
I
anything
I think
since
that
Mad
killed
Men.
her film career, like dead on
Oh,
arrival immediately.
oh, dead on arrival instantly.
Yeah,
Yeah, the X-Men movies are such a weird mixed bag of like either being like there's three like really good ones. I'm not counting Logan because it's just like it's barely a superhero movie. And then do you remember when we saw Logan in theaters? Like we went to like the midnight release of it. We were so excited. And then there was just a dude snoring in the theater the whole time. I just have a distinct memory of us watching Logan in the theater. And
I
there's just
forget
a
that was.
guy. There's me and you went and saw this. We went to like midnight or like we went to like a 10 p.m. showing or whatever it was, and there was just a dude the whole time in the row behind us. I have a distinct
Um,
memory of this.
I have no recollection of that. Maybe because I was also close to that, even though I like Logan. I did rewatch a lot of the X-Men movies over the summer, particularly the first three, and I think that was it. And it's just the craziest thing how superhero movies, how like quaint they used to be back then. Where like the first one was like, yeah, we're not gonna wear the yellow spandex. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck this stupid comic
And
book shit.
now 24 years later, it's like they're running like
We're
their
gonna
whole
have everyone in this, and we're gonna have them wear the yellow suit, and you're gonna
well,
fucking
they
love
run
it.
their like whole marketing campaign on the fact that he's comic book nerds like Ryan, and Ryan Reynolds does his crass little like business like where he just pretends like, oh no, I'm one of you guys, like comic book nerds keep jerking off, look, he's in a yellow suit, and you're like,
Cool.
oh cool, all right, awesome, yeah. But I they're good, they hold up, man. I think James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender are just like too good to be in those movies.
Well, it's funny as that series goes along because it takes a nosedive after First Class. Oh, not for First Class,
No,
after
after
Days of
Days of
Future.
Future
But
Past. Yeah, those first
yeah,
two are like, oh, you're like, oh, these are like legit. These are
yeah,
legit
these are
movies.
fun. And then you get into Apocalypse, which sucked. And then I didn't even see Dark Phoenix, but I heard that was just
Oh,
like
I saw that with
boring.
our friend Tom in the theater. Oh, horrendous. Like, and not in like the good bad movie kind of way, in the kind of like
This is a slog.
I'm going to forget everything about this the second I walk out of the theater,
Yeah,
kind of way. Uh, yeah, but they're fun movies. It's interesting seeing the difference in a Jennifer Lawrence performance in First Class, like which is right before she got Hunger Games, or maybe it came out the same year.
I
Hunger
think it was
Games,
a year
which
before.
it was like maybe it was the year before Hunger Games, like right before she really broke out, and then did Silver Linings Playbook, and then after. And oh, you could just tell she's a little less interested. You could just tell she doesn't really want to be there, but she's under contract.
All right, yeah. So looking at the timeline right now, Hunger Games was 2011, and First Class was 2011. 2000, Hunger Games 2012, or First Class 2011. So it's very clear where Mystique as a character is always supposed to be like in her blue form, and yet as that series goes on, Jennifer Lawrence is
Vaughn,
like,
she's
"I'm
like,
not doing this makeup. Fuck this. I'm a
I'm,
star now. I don't need this."
I'm not doing the fucking makeup anymore. I'm not sitting in a makeup chair for 3 hours. I have an Academy Award at like 24 years old. I don't need to do this shit. Like
Yeah, exactly. Just give me my money. I'll say like, "Oh no, mutants, watch out."
she's had an interesting career. I kind of liked her in No Hard Feelings, even though I
Oh,
didn't.
she was really funny. Yeah.
Even though I thought the movie missed like just could have been funnier.
Mm.
I really enjoyed like her. I think she would actually be great in a comedy revival. That's what I'm hoping for the second half of this decade. I think we're starting to see the big office blockbusters, unless you have like a guaranteed lock, like a Deadpool and Wolverine,
And
or
Batman. Anything
Batman,
Batman.
Batman, Superman will be interesting because I think the audience has lost trust in that character. Or they just kind of go, well, he's can't die, and you kind of lose like the threat appeal of it. Um, I'm kind of curious to see if they start going back towards these like start making $20 million gambles, guys. Like we don't need you don't need five $300 million gambles a year. Like start make 15 other movies instead and bring back
Yeah,
like there's no comedies in theaters anymore, and like it's best to view it with an audience.
exactly. I mean, I know her film's probably the most recent example I can think of. I mean, we also had what Blockers last year, which made like decent money, and like there's definitely these studios are learning this. You can make money on like these mid-budget movies. And while this was a big budget movie, Beetlejuice, I think shows that audiences just want good comedies again.
Yeah, I think people are looking for an escape and a reason to laugh, and I think comedies would be a good place to go into this. Speaking of a movie that made me laugh a little bit, this week we covered Kindergarten Cop.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is an undercover cop assigned to find a mother and son
This is the only picture we have of him.
before a killer does.
You gotta handle this like any other police situation.
He's been trained to fight, but there are some things
You mean you gotta give us lunches? Stop it!
he's never been trained to handle.
They're walking all over me.
Joel Siegel raves Kindergarten Cop gets straight A's. Kindergarten Cop, rated PG-13. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
Yeah, I'm surprised this had a PG-13 rate. I guess I'm not, but you would think a title Kindergarten Cop, you wouldn't necessarily make a PG-13 movie.
Yeah,
But Kindergarten Cop stars Arnold Schwarzenegger. John Kimball is a police detective working undercover, going after a drug dealer, Cullen Crisp, played by Richard Tyson, they couldn't afford Val Kilmer, so they got Richard Tyson, and they have to go and find his child who he's trying to kidnap back, who is hiding in a town of Astoria, Oregon. And Arnold Schwarzenegger becomes a kindergarten teacher. So Tommy,
Yeah.
what was it to you that, because this is a movie you just watched for the first time, that made you go, we need this to cover the podcast? Like, what made it stand out to you that way?
I think that so the reason I watched it for the first time last month was I really had the inkling for an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I wanted to watch Red Heat, but that unfortunately was not streaming anywhere. I saw King Iron Cop was. I was like, all right, I guess I'll throw this on. And I just was taken by just like the way this movie balances tones that are clashing completely, like your typical 80s action cop movie. And like, like the lighthearted like children's comedy of like the parent going in, and you can see the template from this movie that like The Rock and Vin Diesel and like future action stars did. Were like, oh, I got to do my Kindergarten Cop. Like we wouldn't have the pacifier if we didn't have Kindergarten Cop
Oh,
movies like that.
what
or
would
the
we
Tooth
do?
Fairy.
What
Well,
would
exactly.
we do without
Not,
the pacifier or the Tooth Fairy?
not that those are two good movies, but I'm saying like it created a template right there. But I think that this movie in general just like is a step above both those movies I just listed, like a way step above. And I think it's just the way that it takes everything seriously while still allowing humor to happen.
Yeah, it has a very serious tone and serious undertakings there. I feel like this movie is I surprisingly liked Arnold's performance in this, even though I kind of think he's a terrible actor. I don't know. I thought he actually performed really well in this for what he had to do. Like, because it was like you basically take Superman, right? Like that's what he is, like in the Terminator and all these other action movies, and then you put him in an environment where that's kind of stripped away. They use it for some humorous elements and humorous moments with the kids, but like that's always his shield in his performances, and he doesn't have that anymore, right? Um,
And when you think about it, this is really the first movie, and he said this in interviews at the time, that this is the first movie where we had like a romantic partner in this. When you think about like before, like Terminator, Conan, like Commando, like and
Predator.
Predator, all those movies, great movies. Arnold's not talking to any girls except for like being like, "Get me out of here," or
No.
if it's Total Recall earlier that year, it's like him blowing away Sharon Stone, consider it a divorce.
Yeah. I also feel like with our like Terminator, obviously he's just like a robot. Predator, they're just action
Dudes.
movies and the running around in the jungles. Like Commando, same thing. It's army movies. It's a lot of dudes rock kind of movies in Arnold's arsenal. I've never seen Conan. We should do Conan.
Yeah, I've
Some
never seen it
point.
either. So that's
Uh,
the one.
Definitely one that we should cover there. But I kind of wanted to talk about Ivan Reitman. Ghostbusters, Stripes, Meatballs, Acclaim here. I think it's interesting watching his career kind of where it started from, where I think of Meatballs, Stripes, and Ghostbusters, and those are straight comedy movies with the loosest semblance of plots that you could imagine. It's just kind of like rapid fire jokes, like your traditional comedy completely boiled over. And I haven't seen Twins, but I've heard Twins is kind of in the same element there.
Yeah.
From what I'm seeing here, like Kindergarten Cop feels like the first movie that's really like a structured narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen Legal Eagles 2, which was in between Ghostbusters and Kindergarten Cop, which probably is a comedy thriller of Robert Redford he made. But I think like the other ones you just listed are just straight up comedies, just like not much to them. Whereas Kindergarten Cop, I feel like has actual plot, has like actual characters and stuff like that. Whereas it's not just like people riffing off stuff as much as possible. Like the loose feel like Ghostbusters could sometimes feel the improv type of feel.
Yes, definitely not an improv kind of movie. I just think of Stripes, Meatballs, Ghostbusters as like premises, and you have your script, you have your treatment, and then you're going to have comedic actors that work in improvised styles. I mean, it's a run of Bill Murray classics right there.
Hmm.
I think it's interesting here because I kind of went into it seeing Ivan Reitman directed it and going like, oh, this will be silly kind of comedy in that vein, and I was kind of surprised by that. It really wasn't. It was a lot of one-liners from Arnold, and I feel like as much as I said I enjoyed Arnold's performance in this, I when he does his one-liners, they're iconic Arnold one-liners, but this is like the king of Arnold, one of the king of Arnold one-liners because there's so many of them.
Yeah, we were talking before we recorded about how like back at like 10 years ago on the internet there was that Arnold soundboard you hit, and I'd say like half the quotes, if not more, were just from this movie. Like it's not a Tuma, things like that, where it's just like over and over again. And so I think that he just had like a great comedic timing, and I think this showed it off in a way a lot better than Twins ever did.
Oh
Which is
yeah. I haven't seen that, but I'm the party pooper.
yeah.
If you don't stop screwing around back there, this is what I'm going to do to you.
Yeah.
You can't just walk in here. Oh no, that's not the wrong line. On a second thought, there's a lot of great one-liners in this. But I feel like that's kind of the theme of this movie, like where the humor and the heart comes from. I feel like the heart really came from Arnold actually learning to enjoy the kids by just becoming a police squad instructor to the kids. That was basically his turning point.
Yeah, which somehow was approved by the principal. I love the principal. Just like, I thought this was gonna be a bad idea, but then it was a great idea.
I was right at first, which this also feels like the hallmarks of a movie from that time of like,
Yeah,
but the good guy's always going to win. He's always going to have his ups and downs. Like, he's always going to succeed through the end. There's never any real gray area there. And I feel like kindergarten isn't the place to start with like military training to get the kids to listen. I something tells me in reality that wouldn't work. But for you, let me ask you this: for Arnold's character Kimball, did you like believe that arc that he had of just being
Oh,
like a like a cop's cop?
oh, I totally did. I think that they just made him like realize like the warmth and things that he was missing. I mean, I like how they kind of only explain his backstory briefly, where he's like, "Yeah, I had a son and a wife, and we got divorced, and the new guy's like fine, I guess. He takes care of my kid. I'm lucky in that aspect, but he's just a guy that only cared about being a cop and like chasing down Colin Crisp over and over and over again. And this movie slowly warmed him to realize like maybe I should care more about life, and
Yeah. And that's what happens when he meets Joyce, who turns out to be Crisp's ex-wife. I think it was obvious from the moment that she first looked at him for me. I did like that there were like little red herrings of different kids who it could potentially be. Well, first one we meet is we meet the mother who's that's a Jennifer Coolidge character 10 years later.
oh yeah,
Uh
100%.
the wacky, eccentric, rich, wealthy mom who comes in and talks about a kid. But the first one is when the way to set this up is Arnold's taking over the kindergarten class. One of the girls has to go to the bathroom. He gets Joyce to help take the little girl to the bathroom because he has no idea what to do. He's completely in over his head here. The classroom's in disarray, and I noticed a little boy like literally peering up girls' dresses, and I was like, "That's odd.
Yeah.
That's odd." And then the mom comes in and talks about it being like, yeah, so his father left with another man there, and he's just really had an interest in dolls since then. And Arnold goes, yeah, he's been using that doll to look up girls' skirts. And the mom just goes, oh, well, that's a relief. I was like, oh, like
Exactly.
kind of funny, but oh,
Yeah,
peeping toms.
just like, what the hell?
Like I even think of a movie similar time frame, Back to the Future, when he finds out that his dad's a peeping Tom. Like Marty McFly goes, "Oh Christ, he's a peeping Tom!" Like
Yeah.
not in a good way. Like the girls are just
Yeah.
standing there stagnant as a little boy is just like peering up the schoolgirls' dresses. But I think one of the nice things this movie does, it does deal with like the actual issues that people face, like these kids face at home, and how they would
Like
actually explain it to a teacher or something like that, where they can't really form their thoughts yet.
I did appreciate that, even though it felt almost left turn in a way, the fact that it involved a subplot of a kid like getting like abused at home,
Yeah.
where I just like Arnold's reaction though to it, where he keeps on saying, "I'm pressing charges."
Well, yeah, that's another great Arnold one-liner. But now that one was so well done because there's the kid who's just acting very aloof, and you're like, yeah, this kid's a loner. Like he doesn't talk to anybody. And then he runs to the car with the mom, and the mom just drives away. And later on, Arnold finally stops them down. Um, I and it's one of those moments too where you realize like, oh, Kimball and this is actually a good guy when he finds out that like because like he went over thinking that this had to be the kid who was in hiding, like this had to be the boy, because the mom's
Yeah,
being so secretive and aloof and just like hiding out. And she just kind of opens up. You must have seen the bruises, right?
yeah.
And like just he doesn't really change his face, but he changes his tone.
Mm.
And he's like, does he hit you too? And it's like, yeah, but he's going to counseling for it, but you can't tell anybody. And then he gets his comeuppance when he beats the shit out of the guy. And then he goes in with the principal, played by Linda Hunt, who's just wonderful in this.
Yeah.
Nice little performance. Her IMDb picture makes her look like Edna from The Incredibles. If you look at it, I'm like, oh, that's the real life person. That's the real life Edna there.
And she's apparently Oscar-winning actress.
Oscar Academy Award winning actress Linda Hunt. And you think he's about to get disciplined, right? Like your second act turn where it all kind of falls apart. And he goes, how did it feel to hit that son of a bitch? So it almost felt like everybody in the community knew that this guy was like beating the shit out of his kid and just not
Just
doing
didn't do
anything
anything.
about it.
They just
Which
needed
is
Arnold.
They just needed Arnold there.
It's a darkly funny thing. And I like how like Linda Hunt's character like, is kind of almost like the equivalent of like the police sergeant, where it's just like, if you're out of line, I will tell everyone in this community. These kids would be taken out. I care about these kids. And how she just quickly just went over right there. She's like, yeah, it's great you beat the shit out of that guy. We all wanted to do that.
Yeah, but it was nice that the red herring, right? Like that's what that was. That was like, they tried to sprinkle a little bit of mystery into it. I guess I've just watched enough movies to immediately go, oh, it's Joyce
her.
and it's her. And then Dominic comes up to him after the first day and like has like a moment talking with him, and then Joyce comes over and sees him, and then they go and sit down for dinner, and you can start to see like the love connection forming. And I'm like, I mean, it's so obviously her, right? Like, what else are they going to do in this kind of movie?
No other kids are really having prominence. I mean, even the kid from Pet Sematary that was in this didn't have really a role.
Well, the kids, yeah, Dominic's the only kid that really has a role, but that's just like a little subplot that has like a natural conclusion, and it helps reinforce Kimball's character, like arc of like, he went in there with a mission. Like the first thing he does is just basically go, all right, kids, tell me what your dad does for a living. And then you just get a shot of all the kids trying to explain what their dad does.
And like half of them are just like really depressing. Like, yeah, my dad doesn't do much after he got lost in the accident, or he got hit in the accident.
My dad just watches TV all day. My mom calls him a deadbeat. I'm like, oh my God.
And the twins, like, our mom says that our dad's a real sex machine.
Like it's just little like funny moments like that where the kids don't really know what they're saying, and it's like, my daddy's a vagina gynecologist and he looks at vaginas all day. And I'm like, it's kind of weird. It has that South Park DNA in it where like I think a lot of times in Hollywood productions with kids, like the kids are all cute and schmaltzy, but this one felt a little more real because kids just talk about like the normal stuff too, and it's hilarious coming from their lips. Like if you ever just like been around kids, like this is what they talk about when they don't think an adult's listening to them.
It's the one kid, Miko Hughes, the guy from Pet Sematary. He's the kid that says like, boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. The first time it kills, everyone's like, oh my God, you're hilarious. And the second time you can see him like do it after he does it. He has his hands up. He's like, yeah.
he knows his line and he knows it works for him.
Yeah, exactly.
But I say this in the way of like, tying the story and the character together. I think what this one does is it gives. I feel like it's the first time we see Arnold's character have a character arc, like something to strive for. It's the first time in his career where he's like had that kind of growth to it. Because like as we mentioned, you look through his other roles, he's action hero guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at this point, Arnold was mostly just doing like straight up just action movies, which a lot of them are great, but most of those characters are not real characters. I feel like this is the one that actually humanized them a little more.
Yeah, it definitely did. What did you?
And
Oh, well, go ahead, please.
well, I was gonna say, like, there's some versions of this movie, like Ivan Reitman at first was thinking, Bill Murray, his like frequent collaborator, Patrick Swayze, Danny DeVito. And even though DeVito would have been hilarious, and even Jack Nicholson would have been hilarious, I feel like there's not as much warmth to them as like Arnold Schwarzenegger does.
Yeah, it's surprisingly more range from Arnold. Not that he's ever going to be like an award-winning actor, carry like a dramatic feature, but he like there is a warmth and a caringness that he's able to kind of portray through his limited range as an actor versus someone like imagine putting Keanu in this.
Yeah. It's just been awful. Like, hey, bro, I'm just like a stoner teacher.
But let's talk about the beginning with Detective John Kimball, where this starts out just as like a straight cop filler, and he's tracking Crisp through the mall. And I was like, because he's walking through the mall. Crisp was walking through the mall, and Arnold's observing him from the top, and I'm like, holy shit. Can you imagine how scary it would be having the Terminator tracking you down?
Terrible. I would just die immediately. Like, all right, you have to take whatever you want.
But he finds Crisp's victim, the guy who gives him the information, the junkie who's trying to get like $1,000 from him or whatever, and he just shoots him. And his girlfriend is maybe not girlfriend, maybe friend of the evening.
Yeah,
we want to put it that way. It's kind of what she comes off as. Hiding there, Kimball walks in and then tracks Crisp down and arrests him. The girl won't cooperate, so he goes into the hood to find her. And I'm like, he just like walks into this party without a permit and just takes out a shotgun and just starts destroying everything. I'm like, is this guy the worst cop in the world? Like, what's going on here?
And I love that the movie doesn't even touch upon that.
It doesn't even touch upon it. And like, I know there's like the story's a little more grounded. I was like, that part is not grounded at all. He just walks in Terminator style. It's almost like there was an agreement with the studio being like, all right, you want Arnold to do something a little bit more dramatic and different? Well, we at least need one Terminator scene for the trailer.
We need it to look like an action movie right here. And it's funny, like, because you would expect it at least like the sergeant being like, you're out of line. What are you doing here, Arnold? But no, they just gloss right past that.
No, they just gloss right past the fact that he walks into a place without a permit, whips out a shotgun, which is definitely not police issued, and just starts destroying everything in place to get this woman to speak. I will say though, I enjoyed Crisp's arc as a villain, or not arc, but I just enjoyed him as a villain. I didn't really get the mom. I kind of thought she was just there for plot convenience and absolutely nothing else.
They had that weird moment where, like, they're in the like Walgreens or whatever CVS pharmacy, and like, he's
it's Tommy. I want to just stop. It's called a pharmacy. This was filmed before the commercial pharmacies just took over.
I think CVS still was a thing, man.
It was a thing, but this is before your local neighborhood pharmacies, your Rye Beach pharmacies, if you will, which are becoming fewer and fewer by the year. This is when every town had one of those because they weren't everywhere.
Yeah, well, regardless.
I just wanted to make
it. We had to get the tangent on pharmacy.
I just wanted. This is what we do, Tommy. We go on tangents. Yeah, that's what
tangents.
Podcasting is about.
About the tangents.
Podcasting is about making a tangent good enough to make a TikTok for. Okay, that's all. That's all this art form is. That's what it is. It's definitely not about stimulating conversations, uncovering new information, maybe learning something about topic you enjoy, discovering new films. It's none of that. It's about making TikToks, and you can tell by all the TikToks of fake podcasts that are out there, shot in a podcast format that aren't actually podcasts, but they're just made to make it look like it is.
They're like 10-minute podcasts. But yeah, exactly. But anyways, so that one scene like the pharmacy where like they're talking, he's like, you're like giving me like they're giving this kid like anal like thermometers and all this stuff. He's not sick. And he's like, you're not gonna do to him what he did to me. And he's like, well, you're the reason why you are, because of what I did. And they don't touch upon it at all. It's like, what happened to him? Was she just like constantly feeding him Sudafed?
They did that with Crisp and Kimball, and it's kind of weird that Crisp is like, just described to us as this big drug dealer. But is his mom the kingpin? Because she kills the prostitute who is the key witness in the case.
Yeah.
She literally gives her poison drugs via another drug dealer there. I'm like, this is one of those movies where, I always say like shorter is better, but I feel like we're missing some information here about the relationship between the mom and Crisp.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise it just really feels like she's there for plot convenience. Like,
yeah,
is she there? Is she the kingpin running this, and Crisp is just the face? Has this been the family business for 30 years? Like the dad used to be the one taking the front for it. Now Crisp is doing it. Okay, like just give me two sentences of something to explain what the hell is going on here.
So kind of bouncing off the Crisp, I think that this reason this is like a great action comedy is that it doesn't dilute the action. I feel like sometimes when you get into that realm, the comedy can take over and it's like end up being just a farce, which can be funny in its own right if it's going flat. But the reason this movie I think works, and the reason why I really like this movie is just that Chris still feels menacing. And the last third of this movie, like the part in the movie where like he takes away Dominic and he's running away and all the kids start screaming at him, stranger, stranger, stranger. And then the score by what's his name? Randy Elman that kicks in right there where it's like boom, 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 boom. It gives me goosebumps. I'm like, oh shit. This shit just got real, literally. In Kindergarten Cop, a movie you wouldn't expect to have like a cool action beat moment.
And Crisp is interesting because he's jailed at the first act, and then he's kind of out of the movie until the end of the second act. When he gets released, that's kind of like the end of the second act. And then the third act kind of begins with them arriving in Astoria, Oregon. So we don't really know anything about it other than like he wants his kid back for whatever reason. It's kind of one of those motivations you can't really argue with a parent wanting their kid back, even though we're kind of seeing why Joyce, or Catherine, I guess is her real name, even though that he says Catherine one time and then it's never brought up again, that name. But you see his like intelligence and his cunning. Like he goes into the school posing as somebody looking to move his kid there. Oh, my wife and my son are back home. We're looking to sell the house. Doing the tour, sees that Kimball's there, sees Dominic, sees his son, and then goes ahead and starts a fire in the library. And you're like, oh, this guy's crazy and smart.
He's
like
not
that's
messing around.
He's not messing around. Like he's smart. Like you could see something in a Kindergarten Cop of him just like busting down the door, taking Dominic and running away, and it's kind of like goofy hijinks. But it kept with the tone, and it gets really serious and really real. You start feeling nervous, like, oh, is he going to get away with Dominic? Like, how is this going to go? Like he keeps getting away.
And if only it wasn't the unnecessary Jason Reitman cameo. He was the kid that like got caught. Like, why are you making out in here? Get out of here!
Oh, was that Jason Reitman?
Yeah, that was young Jason Reitman right there.
He's directed the two schmaltzy ghost movies that romanticize the Ghostbusters. I am excited for Saturday night, though. I am excited for that coming out soon.
Yeah. He did not direct Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Oh, did he not do Frozen? I thought he did Frozen Empire.
That was some guy, Gil Keenan, who made Monster House.
Well, I didn't even bother watching it. My girlfriend watched it. My girlfriend watched it, and she was like, "Yeah, to watch it in 4 parts." I was like, sounds about right. Sounds about right. That tracks.
So,
but it gets to a really tense moment in the locker room there, where he kind of has Dominic all to himself, and kind of holds the power in the situation, but kind of the ferret, his pet ferret, ends up saving the day.
Which the introduction of that pet ferret is the most ridiculous thing. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a pet ferret. I didn't tell you.
While his
And I,
partner Phoebe O'Hara, played by Pamela Reed, who was excellent in this, is kind of like
yeah,
the deadpan kind of side to Kimball. It's almost like it almost has that weird romantic comedy structure of a character who's there as like the friend to talk to, but it's
yeah.
just about cop stuff. But I don't know why she just kind of comes off as like a rom-com friend as a
Oh yeah.
character. Does she
I
not?
mean, I could totally see like a like 100% just a buddy cop movie of just the two of them. And I think the way she plays off him is so funny. And I just love the one scene where where she just pretends to be Arnold's sister. I think her imitating Arnold's accent is fucking hilarious. Where she's like, "Oh yes, I'm from
Yeah,
Austria."
yeah.
Yeah. And like you can tell that Arnold's set was probably just like, "What?" She's just like taunting me right there.
You just do your best Arnold impression. But and then it has its nice final moment with Kimball getting out of the hospital, seeing the kids again, and then giving Joyce a big old kiss as if nothing had happened in the school. But that was Kindergarten Cop. But now it's time for a difficult, I think, going to be a difficult decision.
Yeah.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
Who is the star of this movie? Who gives the best performance? Because as I said, I enjoyed Arnold in this. And I think the more I talk about it and think about it, the more that I say it, the more I think of it as like I enjoy Arnold in terms of the capabilities of what, like, I understand why Arnold is in a movie, what he
Yeah.
brings to it, what he sells. I think of it to his, I was just impressed with his limited range, what he was able to do. He's obviously the star of this movie. He's obviously the big takeaway winner from this movie. I don't know, man. I really enjoyed Richard Tyson as Crisp. He's almost like a heat check performance in this. But I thought
I
he had
think
the
that
best. I thought he had the best performance in the movie by far.
I think that he was like a menacing enough in this movie that made the stakes real and like really hit home. Like, oh shit, like this is actually like a cop movie at the end of the day. And I love that one little scene of like how psycho he is. That shows how psycho he is. Where he goes in the toy store.
I was
and
literally
asks
just
the
about to
guy,
bring that up.
yeah, he asks the guy like, "Hey, like man, like can I have that like race car track? Like my kid really wants it." And the guy, like the mechanic, is like, "No, my kid really wants this. I'm gonna keep it. I'll pay you double. No,
I'll pay you four times what it is." And him and the store owner make a joke like out of towners, they don't get it. And
Yeah,
then he offers him a final sum of money, like, which is ridiculous, and doesn't understand that these people are not motivated by money. And
yeah.
he just takes him out, and his truck takes the president and walks away. And you're like, oh, this guy had a whole toy store for a kid that he doesn't know anything about what
It's
his
just so
likes or
funny.
dislikes. He just saw this like toy racetrack and wants it. But it was just a good way of showing, like, letting the audience know like this guy's crazy
Yeah.
and threatening, and you should take him a little bit serious and in a good way to just like kind
Yeah.
of form out his
It's
character.
it's just hilarious though, because like the guy like didn't even bother trying to look for anything else. He's like, someone else wants this, I want this. Fuck this. No,
I also really enjoyed Linda Hunt in this as well.
Yeah.
Pamela Reed, Penelope Ann Miller. I kind of felt you could have picked an actress. I kind of felt like kind of
And we also
it was kind of weird that like she saw immediately that Kimball was not a good kindergarten teacher whatsoever, but just was instantly like, oh my gosh. But there was one funny moment when, the after his second day of school and all the moms are outside like, I can't believe we have a man teaching us this. And then the moms see Arnold walking up and they're like, oh my God, that's your teacher?
and one of them is Susan from Seinfeld.
Yes, Susan from Seinfeld. And
Yeah.
she like turns away. She's like, what? I'm not letting him see me without my makeup.
Like, you guys are married. I'm not. I can't look disgusting. And this is also a thankless role, but it's also just crazy to think like early 90s roles, like, oh shit, someone popped up in this. Angela Bassett is the flight attendant in this.
Oh, that's who. Wow, yeah, that's a thankless early movie role that got you paid like $1,000.
Yeah.
Like that's what that is.
It's just so funny seeing like, oh shit, that's like years before she hit.
But
Yeah.
I would
But
say Richard Tyson gave the best performance.
I
Arnold's the star, but Richard Tyson was the best
yeah,
performer in this.
I agree with you. I think that he really sells it. And like apparently like there's like versions where like you said in the beginning of the pod, like Val Kilmer was considered for this, Daniel Stern, Kyle MacLachlan, and Robert Downey Jr. And then thankfully
I would have
Kevin
liked Kyle,
Spacey.
I would have liked Kyle MacLachlan. Yeah, it's really good in hindsight that Kevin Spacey was
It's
nowhere
not.
near this.
It would have ruined the movie. It would have been like, okay, yeah, like what the fuck?
I think that you can separate the art from the artist, but when the art and the artist's crimes are intertwined into one.
It's like we're talking last week about Jeffrey Jones, how like Ferris Bueller is just like, oh god, now that subplot is so creepy.
Yeah, you know what? At least it's like a teenager and he's dealing with grown-up actors. It'd be another
Yeah.
thing if it was Jeffrey Jones with like 10-year-old
Middle
boys.
schooler.
Yeah, like or like if imagine if Jeffrey Jones was the principal in this and it's like, oh
Oh god.
no, oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly I you know, the performances are good. Ivan Reitman's a really solid director.
Ah, are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
All right, Tommy. Would Kindergarten Cop work as a Muppet adaptation? And I think it's interesting because the title says yes, but the movie says no.
Yeah, exactly. If you did the Muppet version of this, it would have to be like kind of sanitized down. Arnold himself said that he thought this movie could have grossed like 25 million more if it was less violent. But Ivan Reitman's like, no, you need the violence to make this movie hit.
Yeah, interesting moment of keeping an artist's vision versus making a decision for the box office, which I feel like nowadays we'd be making the decision for the box office. So I just appreciate that little tidbit there. Yeah, I just have a hard time seeing the Muppets in this role in this environment. I just don't see it happening.
Instead of it being Kindergarten Cop, it's Muppet Kindergarten Cop.
It's Muppet Cop.
Where it's the
kindergarten Muppet.
Arnold's still the same, but instead of kindergarten kids, it's all Muppets he's taking care of.
That's fair. That works. That plays.
There you go.
Humans have started giving birth to Muppets. And we have the baby Muppets in place for this one.
And Gordon Crisp is like a Muppet, and one of his kids is also a Muppet, but looks like him.
Yeah, I don't necessarily
but overall, no.
Yeah, this is a hard no for me. But review time, Tommy. Give me your score to 5.
Okay, so I watched this for the first time a month ago on a whim, and I actually found myself really liking this movie. I think this movie just masters a balance of tone that is very tricky, where it shouldn't work. The hard action movie and a light comedy should not mix, but I think this movie is consistent overall and really funny performances by the kids. Arnold's also just like bringing off like his A game for one-liners. So. And the tension's great. The villain is a really fun villain. I'm gonna go 4 out of 5. This is a fun movie.
So I'm gonna say I thought about this and I think it's a 3 out of 5. I think it's like the perfect epitome of a 3 out of 5. I think there's some plot inconveniences there, but I think it's heartwarming, fun little story for Arnold in a different setting, taking him out of his like real element, even though he's kind of keeping that same kind of character in place. I don't know how to describe it. I just think it's a 3 out of 5 family movie, even though it's kind of not a family movie at all.
Yeah.
That's just my feeling of it. The performances are good. It's enjoyable. I definitely recommend watching it. I think you'll have a good time watching it. I think it's a 3 out of 5. I think it's one of those movies that you'll see it on a streaming platform, and if you put it on, you'd be happy you put it on, but I wouldn't necessarily say to go out of your way to watch Kindergarten Cop for the first time. So
I'd say watch it.
So watch it. That's a watch it from us. So Tommy, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Do you think Arnold still has that thick Australian accent in his private life at this point after living in the U.S. for 40 years?
I don't know how you lose it. It's iconic.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow us on social media at Seen It Pod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Thread. And also leave us a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. And next week, we're going to be covering the Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro movie, King of Comedy, with deep cuts to the game. So get ready for that. We both have never seen it before. The Scorsese we both have never seen.
Yeah, we were going through that list and trying to find Scorsese movies we haven't seen before, and it's tough. But King of Comedy feels like a big standout one. I'm very excited for that. I love how tonal shift we just get with our episodes sometimes. Like going from Kindergarten Cop to King of Comedy feels a little bit like a big jump in tonal departure.
Well, it feels on brand because Joker 2 is coming out, and famously Joker just ripped off fucking that movie.
I'm wild because the reviews came out for Joker 2, and they are very middling from critics, which isn't always a great sign, but I feel like it's almost going to be a deconstruction of like what it is. I think it's just going to be a giant joke of a movie, like intentionally. And I'm kind of curious what it looks like, which I never thought I would say. I'd be kind of excited for a Joker movie, but I'm kind of curious what it actually is. If I remember seeing Joker and being like, okay, Scorsese did this a whole lot better. I feel like the people who really liked Joker 1 had just never seen Taxi Driver or apparently King of Comedy. like
we saw one of those at least, so
yes.
We saw it.
But thank you all so much for listening today. We will see you next week.